in multiple ways.
Like, is there one rightist culture, or are there multiple correct cultures in your view of the world?
Um, See, I want to say there's multiple, but it's also conflicting because there are multiple, but at the same time, I want to say yes, multiple.
So
But
multiple
as
can be
long as
right.
they're not conflicting with each other, or yeah, I guess.
So there's a higher cultural value there that people should be able to coexist, is what you're saying, right?
No. I mean,
No.
yes. Well,
Yeah.
okay.
This is usually how you can take down relativists, because there's a higher cultural standard that you have that you just don't talk about, you know? That's usually very
You
Western.
kind of cut out there.
Sorry?
You kind of cut out for a second. I mean,
I was just saying, usually with relativists, that there's some higher cultural standard that they'll ascribe to, but they don't usually talk about. Usually,
yeah, I wouldn't agree with that.
You wouldn't agree with that?
Yeah, I wouldn't agree that there's a higher sort of standard.
Well, I mean, you believe that people should be able to coexist no matter what they believe or how they live, right?
Yes. I mean, it's conflicting, but I mean, I feel like it can be conflicting.
Then they should. Then the answer to that question is no. Then.
Well, I mean, say we're on an island over here, people are doing their own thing. Someone's on another island somewhere else doing their own thing, and they both live in two totally different cultures, morally not the same.
Yeah, but
The cultures are conflicting with each other cultures. Other cultures.
Yeah, but we live in a world of planes and trains and
Yeah, I
conquests and
know.
empires, so yeah.
It's just kind of a thought. I don't.
If you really separate cultures like that, is it actual difference?
Wait,
sorry.
what was the question?
If you actually separate, like what you're doing, saying, oh, you have your island, you have your island, is that really coexistence that we're talking about?
I would say no. If the cultures are divided, then they're not coexisting. I mean, I guess they are coexisting on a grand scale, but not together. You know?
Yeah.
That's not our definition of coexistence.
I guess I need another culture.
I think like every culture has something to offer, and you take the highest ideals of each culture, and you mix them together, and that's like the ideal. I feel like.
You don't have to because the
The
cultures
highest
right.
ideals of each culture be conflicting with the other.
Yeah. I mean, if you think about okay, look, if you're from like an Islamic culture, a higher ideal would be to actualize Sharia law like throughout the political realm, right? That's a higher ideal to them, but that's not a higher ideal from someone from Western culture. So those are conflicting views. Is it necessary for them to coexist together in one nation?
I think that's caused like every war in human history, mostly. These questions we're having right now.
Well, I mean, yeah, like
It's kind of funny when you think about it, because it's Christianity, Judaism, and Islam. They're all Abrahamic religions that are about God. So, and that's caused a lot of the wars in history in Europe and the Arab, North Africa. So yeah.
Yeah, I wonder. Okay, I know what we gotta do. We gotta light up some incense. Let's contact Yahweh and see what he thinks about it.
Oh, man.
See if he has any sort of inclinations.
It's so bad.
What do you guys think about Westboro Baptist Church?
Just kidding.
Assholish behavior that I think should be allowed.
That should be allowed.
Yeah, as long as they aren't actively restricting the rights of someone.
Yeah, I feel like I guess I'm an atheist, and I just feel like I can't say that how they treat their religion and how they let their religious beliefs manifest. I don't think it's any more right or wrong than how any other Christian lets theirs, I guess. I guess equally. I guess technically they're both as warranted in how they deal with their beliefs.
To some extent, they're actually more honest. I feel like.
Yeah, I feel like
They
I
don't
feel like
sugarcoat.
if you were actually like if you took like let's say like one of those I guess like really pretentious Christians who are like homophobic, but they don't have any other problems with any other thing in the Bible that is equally as bad, technically. Yeah, and then you take Westboro Baptist Church, who's just completely honest and lives literally exactly by the code of the Bible, and it's like it almost makes you. It's like to me, like Westboro Baptist Church has always just exemplified almost the most pure form, I guess, of Christianity. And if I'm completely wrong on that, I would love somebody to call me out, please.
Yeah, you're definitely completely wrong.
No, that's an issue. That's an issue of cultural relativism.
I feel like they exemplify the code of the Bible more so than most like organizations do. I guess the United States, like Protestants or Baptists and things like that.
Yeah, but then you could make the argument that Islamic extremists are living the truest code of the Quran.
I mean, I guess I'm speaking like technically because like I guess the Westboro Baptist Church they show no discrepancy in how much they represent one code of the Bible or another. Like I guess normal like most Christians I guess would represent like I guess like they would justify their homophobia to an extent with the Bible, and that's pretty much all they feel. I'm not saying I'm not every Christian, but I'm talking about those in specific.
And Jesus said, "Thou shalt protest funerals." Right?
Yeah, the things I feel like they don't skip over it. They don't treat the Bible as a buffet where they pick and choose what they want to represent. Westboro Baptist Church literally just.
Well, I mean, the Westboro Baptist Church isn't actively stoning people to death, so I mean.
No, but buffet Catholics, buffet Christians are actually a good thing in my mind, because they can accept that certain parts of their scripture aren't good.
So why follow
They
it?
just aren't morally correct.
Yeah, I know. The problem with that is when they try to validate the ones that are. I guess when they try to validate their like I said again, homophobia, when they try to validate it with the scripture, but they aren't following through with any other things in their religious doctrine accordingly as they would.
They try to validate homophobia.
Yeah, but they're not. They're using the same. They're also using the like you said but they can see some things in the scripture aren't. I guess applicable to modern culture in terms of morality, but they're still using the Bible to validate their homophobia, and they're just skipping over other stuff.
Let's go back to the semantics of relativism to clear it up. So I think the best way to establish relativism as a form of thought is saying that if you have a relativist view, you think that each group is justified in their own moral claims, and they are equally justified in their moral claims because morality is relative. Do you agree with that, Ben? Now that we've established that.
Well, as long as the part like everyone involved is in agreement, like
Yeah, but what if they aren't in
they're
agreement?
not.
That's the thing. They're not.
They're not.
Well, cultures aren't in agreement with each other always.
Well, I mean, cultures, but individuals. Individuals within the culture.
So
As long as they're like not, I don't know, not the word consenting, but as long as they fall into their own system and don't conflict with other cultures, I guess. But I guess I don't know. Some ideologies, you find that in itself would be conflicting, just because they see them.
So, like, if I were to say that, based on my Western values, I can see that oppression of women in Arab states is immoral, I wouldn't be a cultural relativist, right?
I think cultural relativism is descriptively true, but if you believe that it's still immoral regardless of the culture, then you wouldn't be a relativist.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's where I usually draw the line.
Yeah.
Because I can't justify other people's behavior because it works for them. I guess if I ascribe to any kind of social justice, I'd say that's definitely wrong. that you take away other people's rights because it's your culture or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I think if I was put in a position where I had more of a decision making, I would be able to come up with a better sort of idea of coexisting. But as I see it right now, like, I don't know, just them living in their own culture seems totally okay with me. I mean, I know if I was, say, an Islamic woman, I would probably think that it's fucked up, but they might not. And I guess it's all relative, right?
Do you think that people who come into, do you think nations should be monolithically, or do you think their culture should be monolithic? Do you think it should be monogamous, their culture?
Monolithic, as in like religion?
Monolithic, as in like, for example, if I immigrated to Syria, let's say I just wanted to go on a Syrian vacation, I've heard the place was nice. Should I be forced to assimilate into their culture if I wanted to move there?
I'd say yes, if you're moved there.
Okay, now earlier Ben said that culture was a democratic thing. If people within a small knit community decide on something, whether it's immoral or it's moral, then they should be justified in doing that. So is morality a democratic thing then?
I guess so. I mean, that's what it seems.
Because if we can establish that, then that means that the objective standard that we can hold cultures to is those cultures which prioritize and optimize democracy. Did we just find the answer to cultural relativism? It was a joke. But it did seem to logically follow though. If we said yes to all those questions. Anyone want to chime in? Erica Rogers, what are your thoughts on this? No response. That's fine though. That's fine. I'll make you the presenter, homie.
I mean, the democratic thing is kind of tricky in defining what is actually democratic, because that's not how government works, really.
What do you mean?
Screen sharing Naruto.
Well, I don't think all governments are democratic, but if we agree that morality is actualized within a democratic consensus, so within a small community, and we agree that a government should be there to actualize the morality of its people, then shouldn't we hold cultures to the objective standard of whatever best prioritizes democracy?
I mean, I guess that sounds like a solution. I just don't know if it's the solution.
Me either. I don't know. That just came to me during that conversation. I don't know either. I'm putting it out there to see what else everyone else thinks.
I think that naturally cultures progress. So if you're comparing like a barbaric early civilization to us, people have naturally progressed from that stage of culture to us. So I feel like eventually all cultures will have reached the same stage.
As us? As Western culture?
And so morality develops through what stage you are as a culture. So I feel like you just have to wait and get everyone else.
Do you think that Western culture is the... Oh, wait, go on.
Don't you guys
So
agree
in the
that...
democracy thing, I feel like, yeah, that's true, because even in a barbaric culture, there's a consensus naturally. I can't explain it. It's like a consensus naturally, but it's more unconscious. It's more like.
Well, I think it's like this. That's the genesis of law, right? So within a small community, if we were to take the Aristotle communitarian view, we view small communities as a natural progression, right, from like a family home. Then we have to assume that the genesis of law within those communities is an implicit understanding of people within the communities that if I committed injustice on this person, I would probably benefit. If I went and fucked this dude's wife, that would feel good. I would benefit from that. But I don't want someone else fucking my wife. So it's better for no one to suffer injustice than for one person to benefit from it. So that's the genesis of law. Okay, there has to be a democratic consensus. So if we are to assume that morality within a group is a democratic consensus, and that if we are to establish that a government should be one that accurately represents the will of the people in the sense that the moral institution of the government would be aligned with the will of the people, then one that prioritizes democracy or a system that advocates for a sort of democratic election, like a republic, would be the best way for a culture to run. And we could hold that as an objective standard towards society.
Yeah.
Does that seem logical to everyone?
Yes.
Wait, but don't you think that morality transcends culture or values?
Morality creates culture.
I don't know about. Okay, so does morality transcend culture?
No, because your morality. Okay, like example, for in the 1920s. Okay, in the 1920s after World War One, women became more liberal, more free. They started wearing shorter skirts and stuff because their morals changed, so thus their culture changed.
Yeah, but women should have been allowed to vote regardless of whether their morals changed or not. It's the right thing to do.
That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying their morals caused an influx in the culture. I'm not talking about voting.
Is it morals?
Well, then wouldn't that mean that morals do transcend the culture?
Yeah, it would.
I think then maybe circumstance changes morals.
Circumstance sounds right to me.
Yeah.
Probably.
Well, I mean, I don't really know like how the suffrage thing went down or anything.
I mean, that's what a lot of people talk about when they're talking about Bronze Age religions. You know, like the Abrahamic religions, that they instituted cultural policies that would help advance populations and such. You know, like monogamy and that kind of thing. You know, have as many children as you can, in that sort of sense.
Well, in reference to like the 1920s dressing, I feel like women in the cultural oppression they faced sparked the moral, I guess, the change in the moral atmosphere. It was the oppression they were facing as women as a whole. So they started, I guess, advocating against the gender norms that they faced in response to the cultural oppression they received, rather than it just being a moral change first.
I think
So that would be the.
I see it in the basis of Christianity, like, because that was like then what they were wearing then was immodest, slutty, you know, whatever. Because like Christianity faded. I can't explain it. Christianity like faded more, became less serious.
I have to agree with Hami with the. I think bringing up the point of morality transcending culture. I think what the whole foundation I just laid down leads to cultural relativism, because then someone can make the argument, well, if these people in this area democratically decide it's moral for them to every third baby that's born they're going to stab its fucking eyes out, then that would be justified because they're in a government that prioritizes democracy, which I still think is immoral. Therefore, my whole argument just went to shit.
I think it's circular logic when you deal with anything to do with like morality, because morality is so subjective that it's almost impossible to discuss it objectively.
Yeah, but that's still, to me, that justifies not
Culture
trying to.
is like just the morality of a group or the moralities of an individual. Maybe culture shows the democracy of morality. That doesn't make sense.
I'd say really culture serves people's needs. That's how I define it.
How do you mean?
Again, you know, it sort of comes out of circumstance. You know, whatever's morally just is what people want. You know, what people would, you know, take as their claim, what they would agree on.
My blood's not boiling any fire. I'm just like really excited. I don't know. Like this is like really like I enjoy talking about political theory. But I don't know. I mean, I just don't feel, at least at this point in my life, I can't say that there's no objective standard for morality because I don't know yet, and I'm still working toward it. It doesn't seem to appear to me that there is an objective standard, but I'm still convinced there is one, and there's a way to rationalize it. I'm not giving up yet.
I feel the same. I've always felt the same way. And I think that's like every argument I've ever had with somebody. That was like my basis. I hope to go into this argument with our differences of, I guess, opinion or whatever, hoping to have some new viewpoint showed to me, so I can come closer to the, I guess, the utopian, I guess, political place or system. That's why. That's like I feel like I just can't. I just feel like there's one political system or something that would perfectly encompass everybody's views or whatever in a way that would be most efficient for everybody.
Yeah, I think it all eventually goes down to like deontology versus utilitarianism. I mean, one of the strongest arguments for like utilitarianism is that you could just view like whatever the damn, I went fucking blank. I had it. I fucking had it.
Alternative?
Yeah, well, I know what utilitarianism is. Like, it's basically benefits. It's like the whole trolley issue. More people, like, if the train is going towards like a group of people, and you can move it to kill one person, like, do you? You know, like, what would be the more just thing to do? And the
It's basically like the ends justify the means.
yeah, exactly. I mean, okay. I think that like morality. The thing that's tricky about morality is that the only way to judge a virtue of something is to contextualize it, right? So if you contextualize the purpose of like this fucking pen, then you can hold a virtue to it. Is it a good or is it a bad pen? So that would suggest that the soul, if you contextualize a purpose for like somewhat like an individual in essence, then there's a virtue to that. But that eventually leads to sort of what Plato had in the Republic. That eventually leads to a utilitarian perspective, you know? Because the only way to contextualize the purpose of an individual is through society, at least meaningfully.
Can a person decide what their own purpose is?
I mean, I guess, but then it would just be subjective, which doesn't accomplish what we're trying to do.
I was gonna. I think someone brought up utopia, and while I don't quite believe that there will be like a perfect society where no one's unhappy, I kind of feel like America got it right the most. At least you know what I know from history. Because we had a lot of people coming here. You know, they might have just been mostly Christian people, but you know, nobody really agreed, you know, on some perfect morality or some perfect standard of law. But then, you know, it's their constitutional rights. I'd say any culture, any nation that respects people's natural rights is the most correct.
I would say, I guess, yeah. If technically is what you're saying is correct, but what was actually going on in America, what kind of oppression everybody was facing. I don't think that is definitely technically. I mean, if technically everybody has the rights to their own culture or their own religion, those things, that is correct. But definitely, I don't think the time period in America you're speaking of is very good representative of the utopian society. I guess closest to it.
No, I'm not saying that was the utopia. I was saying that was a challenge to get to utopia, or whatever sense you would call that. You know, just to have a place that would respect everyone of their crazy religions or beliefs. Even, yeah, that's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
Unify yelling at you from the chat.
Oh, sorry.
Huh?
Unify yelling from the chat.
No, he was the Zach that just joined. ISFP Zach. He was referring to him.
Oh.
Oh.
Yeah.
That's why I think a constitutional republic is like the best form of government.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say the challenge mostly is just how much leeway do you give people in their rights? Because you can't justify their own cultural beliefs either. Like you can't just say like, oh yeah, your religion's perfectly valid, and that's why we have separation of church and state. So as it pertains to everyone else, your religion is just equally as valid as anyone else's. You can't force your religious beliefs, you can't force your religious policies or anything else.
Yeah, that's how religion should be out of the government.
Yeah.
Who's
But
tapping?
there's a lot of cultures that would like it that way, but Islam, for example.
Yeah, is someone tapping?
Yeah, it's me. I apologize. I'll mute my mic.
That's cool. Oh, I feel bad. Every time we get into a conversation like this, it ends up being like, I didn't find my objective standard. I don't think I ever will. I don't think I ever will. It's
You just have to accept sacrifices for your standard. That's what I did anyway. Because I know like the constitutional republic technically isn't perfect, but what the hell is perfect then?
That's true.
Like I wouldn't want to live in a quote unquote perfect society.
You
Because
would?
that would have to institute some completely correct moral standard or what have you. Again, I'd say it's just whatever system law would respect your rights the most,
Right.
and everyone's rights collectively.
CMG, any thoughts? Guess that's a no.
Unify says we all want to be accepted.
Do we?
I think we're just getting the sunshine and rainbows here now. Like,
So what a hug.
I just want a hug.